I know, but I played 110 games the other day, and 68 of them were against Shaman.
Hello everyone, this is Hearthstone Meta Hype. I am Eco100 with my friend Vegan Dragon. How's it going?
Oh man, it is going well, I'm so glad to be here. We got something to talk about tonight. You know what we're going to talk about, the thing that everybody wants us to talk about, and I am ready to do so. And that is Shaman, baby. Let's talk about Shaman.
Okay, you know, I'm pretty sure in our last episode, I actually talked about how Shaman was going to be the most powerful, most played class as soon as everything was said and done. And I'm a little happy. It's bittersweet to have my prediction be right. You know, I'm a little bit happy about it, but at the same time, the ridiculousness of this deck is like off the charts. I can play almost nothing the first couple of turns, and then turn 5 play a weapon, some 3/3s, maybe use Lightning Bloom to play an extra minion or two, and get a giant board of minions in 1 or 2 turns. And the only counterplay to it is like the Cobalt's Sticky Fingers, because if you destroy it with Acidic Swamp Ooze, they can just re-equip it with Horde Pillager, which they always seem to have. It's ridiculous how powerful this deck is.
Yeah, I mean it's an absolute beast, and the funny thing is I had talked about this when the weekend of Thanksgiving when you were visiting family. Guy Grumpy and I had talked about this, and we were talking about Shaman, and we said, "Are we really talking about nerfing Shaman?" And one of the cards that I was really concerned about was Bogspine Knuckles. I said this card is just out of control. This card. When I played it a lot of times in the expansion before in Skullman's Academy under Galakron Shaman, and it just didn't really feel as powerful because it was very reliant on the fact that you could get it. And it's not so much that you're getting that card and using it. It's just that the combination, it's the cards that are around it too. So Bogspine had become a problem because of the supporting cards as well. So it's just kind of, well, not kind of, it's very unbalanced.
I mean, to be fair, I almost never saw Bogspine Knuckles until now. Like, for the past year and a half that this card has been out. Actually, no, it hasn't been a year and a half. It's been, like, just 1 year. But over the past, like, year this card has been out, it's all seen almost no play. Like, I've never thought this card was a problem. I've always thought that this card was a bit too slow. And it's just now that aggro is as bad as it is, and this deck has as many supporting cards as it does. I think that the Cage Match Custodian is what really broke the deck, because it meant that you would very consistently get the weapon, whereas the weapon before was just too slow and too inconsistent of a win condition. But like being able to draw it almost every game with a 2-drop that says draw a weapon definitely broke the deck. That's I think what was like the thing that made the deck ridiculously strong that people weren't that isn't being talked about. I think the Custodian is what made the deck consistent and strong.
No, absolutely, and that's totally what I meant. I mean, if you think about it, like remember, back in the day that we used to have the card that it was Barnes. Remember Barnes, right? 4 mana. Well,
the card where you either play it and you win, or you don't and you lose.
Right. So it's like Barnes was a card, and it was pretty much like the mathematics would be that you had almost like a 60% chance of getting that card by turn 4 when it was playing, or even turn 5. You know, so you had a very high percentage chance of having that. And the thing is that the weapon is 5 mana, right? So you're not really going to be able to play it until turn 5 unless you use the
Lightning Bloom or the coin.
Lightning Bloom and the coin, right? Or both, right? So the thing is and if you're basically you have to have the weapon in hand in order to make those worth it as well. But now you have 2 more cards in your deck, or a total of actually 4 cards that can get you that card on turn 5. I'm including Bogspine Knuckles itself, and also Cage Match Custodian.
No, yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
because like it's going to be in your hand almost twice as likely, and with the support of the other cards, you're going to be able to play it. And sometimes the worst thing that even occurs with this is that you get into a situation where you drop down something and you have the Inara Storm Crash then comes out, and that's the card that is on your turn. Your hero has +2 attack and Wind Fury. I mean, it just, what the hell was Blizzard thinking? What were they thinking? They wanted this to be busted. I mean, they must have, because they just totally, were they thinking? I mean, I don't understand. What are they doing? Like, why is everything so cheap? You know what I mean? Pitmaster, Battle Cry, summon a 3/2 duelist, corrupt, summon 2. 3 mana. 1/2.
I mean, for that one, I don't really have a problem with that guy. What was his name again?
Pitmaster.
Pitmaster. I don't really have a problem with Pitmaster because he's only really busted if you corrupt him, which means that you're probably not going to play him till turn 5. And then, yeah, he is pretty mana efficient for what he does. Like, if you do play him turn 5, he's really good value, and then you can also hero power or whatever afterwards. But
Yep.
I don't really have that big of an issue with Pitmaster because he requires setup to actually become strong. I actually think it's a moderately balanced card.
But the setup is Bogspine Knuckles itself, which is 5 mana. So let's say that you have Pitmaster in your hand, and you play the weapon on turn 5, and then you evolve whatever minions that you have down there. Your opponent clears your board out, and then on turn 6 you drop down Pitmaster, and whatever else. Now, how balanced is that card? The corrupt this is one of the few times that actually Tempo is, playing a corrupt card, which are kind of wacky anyway. They, the whole concept behind it is kind of strange now that I look at it. But
I actually like the corrupt mechanic. I'm gonna be honest with you, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But yeah, it is definitely a really, really, really powerful play. But I don't know. I don't really have, when I think about the deck as a whole, this isn't the main card that jumps out to me as broken, in my opinion.
Well, it's Cage Match. That's the broken card, right? That's
I don't even necessarily think the Knuckles is that broken, because up until this expansion, the past month or so, and obviously more specifically since the nerf, this card has seen almost no play. So it had to have been something like just the Cage Match Custodian and the meta just being perfect for it. Or maybe it's also the fact that you have the Pitmaster. Maybe I'm just undervaluing the card as a whole because you have another way to refill the board with the Knuckles. I think that, I don't know. I think that it's Sorry, you go.
No, yeah, sorry about that. I was just saying that it does give you a chance to refill the board, but it also gives you a chance to blow out Mogu, Flesh Shaper. Now have 2 extra cards out there. I mean, it's just so many chances to cheat out even for mana. Even that they did nerf Mogu at one point. Now all of a sudden it doesn't seem, you almost see it all the time. There's another card too that allows you to cheat out Mogu as well, which is really good. And then on top of that, people play giants too. No. I
actually only run 1 copy of the giant. I don't really like the giant in the deck that much. I think it's very strong, but I feel like I took out a copy of it for an extra broomstick because I think the broomstick swing turn. That's another thing. With the Knuckles, you can attack with all of the Knuckles, then evolve everything, and then play the broomstick. Yeah. And I don't know how many episodes this was ago, but we were talking about how ridiculously powerful the broomstick was. We were talking about how it was one of those cards that's really strong, most people play, but nobody really talks about how broken it is and how it kind of needs a nerf. And I stand by it, man. The lackey that gives +1 attack and rush is considered quite strong. A minion that gives everything rush after you evolve your entire board is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things that just came together for Shaman, but I think that ultimately the 2 cards really in this one that are most problematic is Cage Match Custodian and then Bogspine. And it just gets in the way now. Like it's always there. It is just always there.
So how would you nerf the card is my question. Just how would you nerf the deck in general? Because obviously we just had a set of nerfs, so I don't know how quickly Blizzard will nerf this, but what would you do to nerf this deck? Just off the top of your head.
I mean, I think the first thing that jumps out to me is 6 mana. Is just move it to 6. That's like the easiest, right? Just move it up 1. Aren't you
a little worried that it'll like kill the deck? Because I feel like slowing this deck down by a whole turn minimum will be really, really bad for the deck. Like, I feel like that nerf will lower the deck's win rate by like 5 to 10%, and it'll go down to like tier 2 maybe.
I know, but I played 110 games the other day, and 68 of them were against Shaman.
I mean, that's fair.
68%. I mean, yeah, 68, more than
68 out of the 110
60,
games, which is 62%. I actually did the math because I was like, that's ridiculous.
More than 60% of the games were against Shaman, this deck. So, am I afraid that I would kill off the deck? I mean, it's basically killing the game if that's like the kind of numbers. I mean, that 110 games is nothing to shake a stick at and say, oh yeah. I mean, you didn't play enough games. I mean, we're not talking like, oh, I played 10 games of Shaman, 10 games of Hearthstone and faced Shaman 6 times. Like that'll happen. But this was 110 games. That's a little bit higher sample size. And I think that's the problem. Also, is that the game is just. It just makes so many other decks so unplayable. I literally, in one game, was killed on turn 4. The guy killed me on turn 4.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
And it's just like,
But the thing with that and killing on turn 4, that's almost never going to happen. And I've killed people. I've literally killed someone on turn 3 with the Whirl Kick Rogue multiple times by getting out one really, really powerful giant Edwin. So, like,
of course.
It's a little bit hard to say, like, oh, I lost to a guy turn 4 this one time, because there are a couple of other decks that can probably do that. Aggro Demon Hunter in its heyday could probably have killed you really early, along with Whirl Kick Rogue. So, I don't know. I do agree with pretty much everything you said, except the dying on turn 4 thing. Because if they did get that, it would have needed to have been the Nuts Hand, which they're not going to get that consistently.
But remember, that was like the 60th game against the Shaman, and then so 59 I lost to the Shaman, and then I'm like, okay, cool, let's play it again, and then all of a sudden the next Shaman comes out and kills you on turn 4. So
I think you're kind of just being unlucky, to be fair, because when I look at Hearthstone replay statistics, 28.6% of decks in Diamond 1 are Evolved Shaman. This is the highest overall percentage. But if you look at the percentage, that's still less than what Demon Hunter was before the nerf. Before, if you remember us discussing it, Demon Hunter was played 32 to 33% of games in Diamond 1, and it was played pretty much more in every single category. I mean, now it looks really, really bad. And Shaman is played overall by about 17% of the community. It's played by 18% of Legend, 25% of Diamond 2, 22% of Diamond 3, 19% of Diamond 4. I'm rounding, by the way. So even though the numbers are still ridiculously high, it's not as bad as what Demon Hunter was. And I agree with that, And it kind of feels a little less oppressive, too, because they can low roll with their evolves. I'm not trying to defend Evolved Shaman, by the way. I know the deck is ridiculously broken. Whenever I'm like, okay, I was on stream for a bit and lost some games because I tried to play Res Priest or whatever to have a little bit of fun. I'm like, okay, let's fix my rank. And then since the nerf, I've gone, I think, 24-6 with Evolved Shaman, which is ridiculous. No, 21-6 with Evolved Shaman, sorry, since the nerf, which is ridiculous. Like, this deck is just, it's too powerful. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm not as upset about it because at least it's not Demon Hunter, because Demon Hunter's been the most played class that I've seen everywhere for the past year, and I'm a little bit less upset about it because of this, but like, I don't know. I think the deck is a problem. I just don't think it's necessarily needs a nerf yet. And if it does get nerfed, I don't think the weapon being nerfed by mana is the correct way. Because I think it'll just kill the deck. I think making the Knuckles, say, instead of transforming minions into one that costs one more, maybe make it more of a revolve kind of thing. So that way you can still like have the weapon turn 5 for its damage and some cool tempo. You can still set up some nice combos, but it doesn't like continually snowball and get bigger and bigger. It's just like it revolves that turn. It's a strong play, but it doesn't like continuously get stronger. And also if it's more of a revolve and transforms into another minion of the same cost, you still get the minions to heal. Because, like, that's one of the big things. Like, you can attack with your minions. They take damage. You revolve them. They basically heal up. You can play Broomstick. You can still do all the same combos. You don't lose too much tempo. But, I don't know. I feel like... I don't know how I would nerf this card. Like I said, that's how I would do it. But I feel like that would be not enough.
Yeah. And I like your idea, though. I think that's good, too, because it does... It doesn't continue the ramping, right? It's like stops the cheating of mana, and not the obviously the cards will get better as they get higher. It would be like you said, the revolve is actually is probably a decent nerf. It could keep it at the same mana, and instead of it becoming one more, it just goes goes just the same, but essentially healing them. But yeah, I mean, I just want to say, go on the record and say, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just messing around. I mean, the truth is, though, I did face it 60% of the time, which is a lot, and it's just a weird
agree.
Standard deviation.
It's very strong.
The thing is this, though, and in defense of the Shaman as well, this deck is Demon Hunter was a lot more consistent as well, because
with this deck, if you don't draw the weapon, it feels so bad. Like you just lose if you don't draw the weapon turn 5.
You're pretty much you could like the games are pretty much you kind of know you're going to lose, like when you're going to do it. Like you still can kind of play around it and like get things going and kind of get yourself back in the game. There are chances. The difference between this deck and when you were playing something like against Demon Hunter was you just know that the game is going to go a certain way, and they're just going to keep on pounding you with damage, and there's nothing that you can do. There's no way that you can kind of recover. You know, like you can't really clear the board. They just cleared. You know what I mean? It's just a different way that they did it.
It's just a different way that they beat you.
Yeah, and it was actually so much more consistent and just so and truthfully just a lot more powerful. So it is nice not to see the Demon Hunter in every game, but then all of a sudden it is replaced by this other one. But the silver lining is that not all games end the same way. They kind of you do. I just feel like even though you see a lot of them and it is really strong, not all the games feel bad, because you can kind of sometimes it just doesn't, like you said, if it doesn't curve right, you have a chance. Whereas the Demon Hunter, it just always seemed to curve right. It just was such a better deck.
Because and it had ridiculous card draw with Skull Guldans and the Man Feeder Panthera, and sometimes they were in Spectral Sight. It was just too consistent. Yeah,
that's it. It's just a consistency thing. And so maybe it doesn't need a nerf. Maybe there's other cards in the expansion that could use a buff even to make some of the other classes a little bit more playable. I mean, everybody got what they want who was a Shaman player. You know, I don't know if you ever heard the song by Mike Jones. This is old school song. You probably never heard it.
Probably
it was a hip hop. But it's a hip hop song back from the day, and it's called Back Then You Want it's called Back Then by Mike Jones. And it's and the words are back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me, right? So it's like,
oh no, wait, I've heard that.
You've heard it, right?
Or at least that specific line. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. It's well, he's from Texas, so it's over by you. You know what I'm saying? So at least halfway there. But so that's the thing. And someone tweeted out today, I saw on Twitter, they said, "Oh, I'm maining Shaman now." I said, "You're maining Shaman now?" I said, "Mike Jones." I said, So now it's hot. Now you're all on it, right? Where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you when Shaman needed you most? A couple of months ago.
Yeah,
You know what I
nobody
mean?
played it. Everybody was like, Shaman's terrible, but now it's super strong.
Yeah, it's like the make Shaman great again movement, you know. And now we got what we got, and people are like us are sitting here crying. Let's nerf the class. So maybe we don't need to nerf the class. Let's just let Shaman be great.
Before we jump into the next segment, I just want to close out with one or two things. The first thing is just the fact that we have to at least be somewhat happy by the fact that Blizzard did finally nerf Demon Hunter, and we knew that there had to be repercussions. There was a power vacuum that needed to be filled by something, and it just happened to be Shaman. It could have ended up being any class or any deck, and people would have complained about it. Like, Evolved Shaman being the deck everyone's complaining about would have just been like, fill in the blank for whatever deck fills this void, and people would have found a way to complain about that. Which, I mean,
100%.
it's kind of... that's just kind of how games work. Like, you can never really have a perfectly balanced game. In even like a MOBA, or... because I play a lot of MOBAs, I play League of Legends a lot, and even League of Legends, or just Hearthstone in general, there will always be at least one thing that's better than the others and we'll see more play. And then the other thing is just the fact that the nerfs came out like less than a week ago, or I think exactly a week ago at this point. And the meta's still young. Demon Hunter's win rate was really, really high in the beginning, and the win rate, even though the deck remained super duper powerful, did fall down a little bit about a week or two after the expansion was actually dropped. Like, Aggro Demon Hunter used to have like a 63% win rate, and by the time it was nerfed, it had a 58% win rate, which is still ridiculously high, but as people learn to play against it and teched in certain cards, like if people start running weapon removal and the sticky fingers a little bit more to just counter the Knuckles play, I could see the win rate of that deck dropping like 3 to 5% just based off of cards people play in their deck. People play an extra acidic Swamp Ooze or an extra sticky fingers, and overall, I think the deck will still be strong, but I think we should wait another week or two to determine whether or not Shaman should actually be nerfed, and just wait to see what people do. People are creative. They're going to come up with cool decks, cool counters, and I'm excited to see where the meta goes after this. It's just, this was the most powerful deck after Demon Hunter was nerfed.
Yep. So let's go on the record together, because I do agree with you and say that we are not trying to say let's nerf Shaman. We were saying let's let the meta evolve. Let's see what's going on
Evolve.
with the
Get it? Because it's Evolved
you get
Shaman.
it, right? No pun intended. We'll let the meta evolve a little bit, and we'll figure it out, and we'll let all of the experimentation go on, and we can all decide in 2 weeks. We'll give it 2 weeks to see how it is, because there is an element that people do get tired of playing the same old thing, and they will, and you'll have less excitement over it, and people want to experiment with other things because, like you said, they'll just start getting countered, and it just will become unfun. So I think we'll go on the record and say that we agree here, but we're not crying for nerfs, and we're gonna get over to the next segment. So. Before you get over there, you know what I always say, you got to just make sure that you hit that subscribe button for eCore. Make sure that you hit that like wherever you are right now. If you are on Apple Music, if you're on Spotify, if you are on anywhere that you can hear us right now, make sure that you do that. Follow, and also get over to his YouTube channel, eCore, and find him streaming Hearthstone on YouTube live, where you can watch the man at work. So we will see you in the next segment, and we'll be back in just a second.